Well, hey there. Good morning. I'm John. Today is Friday, April 14th, 2023. Time for another daily vlog, kind of documenting what's it like trying to take content creation from a hobby to full-time. In just a few months' time, it's an experiment. But once you get laid off, you get an opportunity to get an experiment, I have learned. So it's Friday, first of all. So let's talk about yesterday. If you watched the vlog yesterday, you might recall that I was, and still am a bit, I'll talk a lot, I guess, at the end of the video about this, was worried about the long form versus short form and how maybe the algorithm had lost touch with our long form stuff. But I had prepared a long form video, which honestly, I wasn't sure it was going to do really, really well. I was like, well, it's another long form to feed the algorithm. So this was about a modern piece of software for the now 45-year-old Atari 2600 that was just really good. It was incredibly well done. So I dropped that video yesterday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I have this metric whereby if I would like to get at least 200 views in the first hour, and if I do, that means it's at least on par. And this one got 200 views in about 35 minutes. I'm like, oh, that's a good start. And then by the end of the hour, it was almost 400. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. It turns out it performed really, really well. As of this morning, which is about 20 hours or so it has been out, it's up over 3,700 views. So it's pushing 4,000 views in less than a day. And this is Friday. There's a good potential that a new video is going to keep getting recommended. And so as an incredibly well, I throw a link to it, by the way. I mentioned I'll put a link up there if you want to click and watch if you haven't seen it. It compares it with the original arcade game, and it's a port. I really enjoyed it, but I was like, I don't know if it's going to find an audience. But the combination of the algorithm liking us a little, and what I've learned about thumbnails and titling and all that sort of stuff, and I'm starting to, I think with a constant stream of regular stuff, I see a lot of commenters saying, they appreciate the level of detail or how I approach the subject or whatever. So it's not just magic. Like I know I'm doing some good work. I really do. I look back at stuff I've done even just a year ago and go, this is way, way better. For a lot of reasons, pacing and presentation and stuff like that. But none of that matters. Like, you can have the best production. If you can't get people in the door, it'll just lie fallow and no one will see it. But so that video did great. And that was the afternoon. So starting in the morning, I mentioned the thing I was worried about, which was that short videos about arcade tips were doing so well and nothing else was. So I spent a lot of time yesterday. I knocked out another one of those, which I'll release sometime today, probably this morning. And I started work on a second one, in addition to doing some writing for the podcast we'll record today. That pretty well consumed, along with monitoring social and all that sort of stuff, that pretty well consumed my Thursday. Then I went and caught a movie, which I saw the Renfield movie, which is Nicolas Cage as Dracula. It was cool. It wasn't like a great movie, but it turned out it was, what will I say what it was? It was, like so many movies I go and see, it's a little better than it needed to be, luckily. So they did some amazing work with some Universal archival footage with Dracula. They replaced him with Nicolas Cage, but kept that old film grain. It replaced several actors in the footage. But what a time to be living with AI and crap like that. Amazing stuff can be done. That again, I'm going on a tangent about movies. By the way, Star Trek Picard, season 3, episode 9. Amazing. So if you're not watching that, a couple of you said in the comments yesterday, I really haven't gotten around to watching it. Because it's really good especially if you're a Star Trek fan. But even if you're not, it's pretty good television. So enough of the media commentary section. Let's talk about today. So for today, I'm kind of keeping a little bit light. I had hoped to have another long-form video ready for the weekend, and I think that's a push that unless there's a news article or something to knock out, I don't think that's going to happen today. So I will start some pre-production on something and get it out to have out for the beginning of next week. but rather I will publish another of those little arcade shorts and continue this experiment and see if it really continues to do well. Some of them even do well on TikTok and Instagram, where I upload them as well. So it's laying tendrils and vines out all over these social media networks, and that seems to be helping a bit. We will record the long form, I'm stuck in video. We'll record the podcasts today. The guys and I will get together. We'll record 2 episodes for the next 2 weeks. We'll get those out. There'll be one of them we'll edit each Tuesday. You know the drill of those things, and we'll get those together. And then toward the end of the day, I mentioned early in the week, my weekend project is really to replace this television in my office. But to do so, I have to dismantle everything and unplug networks, and a chance to clean up dust bunnies that haven't seen the light of day in a decade or so. But it's going to be quite an undertaking, but I hope to start that by early evening, late in the afternoon. So it's not video production or audio production, but it's where I do all my editing, so it'll improve the space where I work. So that's my weekend project. Now, I alluded to this just a little bit, which is so it's really weird, the psychology of what I'm doing, to me anyway, because as I told you yesterday, I'm upset or worried that the shorts are doing well and the long form videos are not. And is that ever going to come back around? Have I, lost the train? And then this long form did really well. It's still doing really well today. And even though I have shorts doing well and have this long form doing well, I think I've just been so beat into submission by what is often nicknamed the YouTube algorithm for 5 years that I'm accustomed to having a little burst of success and then right back into the dump with you, And while we haven't seen that happen, I want to show you this chart of the last 90 days of views and engagement. And what you'll see is it was going along pretty well for a month or so. And then we had that huge spike at the beginning of March. And then after that, I'm like, well, it's all downhill from here. But if you look, it's not all downhill. It's steadily rising again. There's not one big burst, but now we have a lot of things popping off simultaneously that is approaching the volume that we had off of one big thing. So realistically, it's probably better to have your eggs in lots of baskets, or what do they say, all your eggs in one basket, put all your eggs in different baskets. I did it right the first time. I don't know. But it's probably better to have all those there, because then if one video dies, the other ones can continue to do well. And I was looking at this chart yesterday, and it's that thing where you have to step back and see what's really happening. When all you're doing is microscopically analyzing the stats day to day and go, oh, we're down from yesterday. Oh, we're down or up from yesterday. But on a longer form, just look at the volume that we are continuing to increase. And something in me still does not believe that it will continue, because I'm just so accustomed, even though it's continued now for a full month. Why can't I believe it? I don't know. Well, I guess it keeps me hungry, right? It keeps me thinking that I got to keep trying, which I do forever if I want to do this, but I still think I'm struggling to get a foothold. And what that chart showed, I think, is that the foothold is there. It's whether or not we use it or squander it, and I'm using it, so trying to anyway. All right, hey, it's Friday, and it's time for me to get going on the work I have to do today to lead into my project this weekend. I want to thank you for checking out the vlog today, or anytime that you stop by. I appreciate that. If you are here every day, I love you for that. I really appreciate people that are here and help keep me motivated, and it's why things are going the way they're going, and I believe that. Have a good Friday and a great weekend. Hope you do something good for yourself over the weekend if you can, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. No, not tomorrow, Monday. I'll talk to you Monday. Bye-bye.